This information led Richard to the heart-wrenching realization that he could not be the biological father of his 3 sons, who he had raised and loved dearly. Reeling from the news, Richard faced a torrent of emotions as he grappled with feelings of betrayal and confusion. It was clear that the trust and integrity of his marriage to Kate had been compromised. The life he had built, the fatherhood he had cherished, it all seemed like a mirage now. Richard was poised on the precipice of a monumental decision. He decided that he could not let this deception go unchallenged. With a heavy heart, he initiated legal proceedings against Kate, seeking answers and reparations for the years of deceit. The lawsuit was a painful but necessary course of action. It brought the private details of their lives into the public eye, causing a media frenzy. Throughout the legal battle, Richard remained steadfast in his commitment to uncover the truth and seek justice, not only for himself but for the integrity of his relationship with his sons. In the end, the court proceedings revealed that Kate had indeed been unfaithful during their marriage, and the biological father of the boys was someone else. Despite the immense pain of this discovery, Richard maintained his love and support for his sons. He stated publicly that regardless of the biological connection, he still considered them his children and wished to remain involved in their lives. The resolution of the lawsuit saw Kate admitting to her infidelity and resulted in adjustments to the financial arrangements of their divorce settlement. Despite the tumultuous events, Richard found some solace in maintaining his relationship with his sons. He also became an advocate for individuals suffering from cystic fibrosis, using his experience to raise awareness and support for the condition. The genetic nature of this illness meant that Richard faced a truth he had never imagined: he was biologically incapable of fathering children. This revelation left him grappling with a confusing mixture of emotions as he faced the implications for his relationship with his 3 sons. Richard's journey through the tangled aftermath of his diagnosis was fraught with emotional and legal complexities, as he struggled to reconcile the medical facts with his lived experience. He embarked on a difficult path to understand the deception and determine his future actions. Cystic fibrosis, known for causing the buildup of thick, sticky mucus that can severely damage the body's organs, had already claimed the life of his sister, a loss that deeply affected Richard and heightened his fears about the genetic legacy he might leave behind. For years, haunted by the death of his sister and the potential risk to his own children, Richard carried a heavy burden. His fears were somewhat alleviated when a doctor explained that it was genetically impossible for him to transmit the disease to his offspring, a statement that initially brought him a brief sense of relief. However, the consultation took an unexpected turn when the physician further revealed that Richard's cystic fibrosis had rendered him infertile. The news was shocking and contradicted everything Richard believed about his life as a father to 3 boys he had with his wife, Emma. Confident of an error, Richard cited his children as evidence that the diagnosis might be wrong, but the doctor's solemn response only deepened Richard's emerging doubts. As he pondered his relationship with his wife, Emma, past incidents began to cast a shadow over what he had previously viewed as innocent memories, like the call from Emma explaining her delayed return from a business trip in London, now fueled his suspicions. The resemblance of their twins to Emma alone, once a passing observation from friends and family, added to his growing unease. Richard's life was unraveling as he faced the painful possibility that the foundations of his family might be built on secrets. His journey through this personal crisis involved confronting difficult truths and reevaluating what he knew about love, trust, and paternity. As he navigated this challenging emotional landscape, Richard was forced to consider what it meant to be a father and how to move forward with his life and relationships. At the time, Richard had merely observed certain behaviors and occurrences as mere curiosities. However, now grappling with the revelation of his own potential infertility, these past observations began to cast a grim shadow. This unsettling possibility gave old memories a chilling new context. Looking back, Richard found Kate's actions around the time she discovered her first pregnancy peculiar. Having never shown a significant interest in parenthood before, she suddenly became captivated by everything related to pregnancy and childbirth. This dramatic change in behavior seemed odd, and now, laden with his current fears, it struck Richard as potentially meaningful. These unsettling revelations prompted Richard to reconsider the nature of his family life, which he had always perceived as straightforward and happy. The idea that deception might have occurred right under his nose, possibly unnoticed due to his frequent late nights at work, was devastating. As Richard slowly pieced together the fragmented clues, his heart sank under the immense weight of betrayal and shock. Richard was also taken aback by Kate's newfound interest in Judaism. Both had been raised in Christian households, making this sudden shift particularly surprising. Kate had even gone as far as giving their 3 children Jewish middle names and had decided against christening them. Her frequent consultations with rabbis hinted to Richard that there might be more to her actions, possibly suggesting a double life involving another man. Richard had long harbored suspicions that his sons didn't quite resemble him, but they did bear a resemblance to someone familiar, a person he knew. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly coming together, and Richard began to suspect he knew the identity of the man Kate had been seeing, yet he remained cautious, aware that there might be other explanations he hadn't considered. As he pondered the situation, Richard identified 3 key clues. First, his ex-wife likely met this man during her business trips. Second, the children's uncanny resemblance to one of Kate's business colleagues was striking. And third, the fact that this man was Jewish, which didn't seem relevant initially, now added another layer to the mystery. Although identical twin births are rare, occurring just 0.45% of the time or 1 in 250 births, the use of fertility treatments, which they might have resorted to given their 7 years of marriage before conception, could explain the twins. After much contemplation, Richard decided it was time for a confrontation. He sent Kate a message, filled with the frustration of his recent diagnosis of cystic fibrosis, which cast doubt on his paternity since the condition often leads to infertility. He expressed his doubts and sought clarity, hoping for honesty but preparing for any outcome, revealed that Richard was indeed not the biological father of his 2 sons. This confirmation only deepened the emotional turmoil and sense of betrayal he already felt. Roger Terrell advised him on the legal steps he could take, emphasizing the complexities involved in cases of paternity fraud, especially given the length of the deception and the emotional bonds formed over the years. Richard was torn between seeking justice and the fear of losing the familial ties he cherished. He expressed his frustrations and confusion, emphasizing how this revelation was not just about the legal implications but about a deep, personal upheaval in what he had known as his family life. After many sleepless nights and long discussions with his eldest son, who continued to support him as his dad regardless of the biological revelation, Richard decided to confront Kate with the evidence. During a tense meeting, he laid out the results of the tests and the confirmation from Roger Terrell. He demanded honesty about her past actions and the identity of the real biological father, stressing the importance of transparency for the sake of their children's identity and emotional well-being. Kate was visibly shaken, but she maintained that her actions, though deeply regrettable, should not undermine the years of love and care Richard had given to their sons. She tried to reassure him that her feelings for him during their marriage were genuine and pleaded for a chance to mend their relationship for the family's sake. As Richard navigated this complex web of emotions and decisions, he realized the importance of maintaining a stable environment for his sons. Despite the heartbreak and the overwhelming feelings of betrayal, he knew that he would always be their father in every way that truly counted. The journey of healing was just beginning for Richard, and he was determined to rebuild trust and redefine the meaning of family, with or without the biological ties that he once thought defined them. It is many years down the line. It's important for their sense of identity and closure. This sentiment reflects Richard's ongoing concern for his son's welfare, despite the complexities of their family dynamics. Initially, medical tests had confirmed that Richard was indeed sterile and unable to father children. This revelation led to further investigations involving DNA testing of his sons. The results definitively proved that the twins were not biologically his. Adding to the emotional strain, Richard's eldest son declined to participate in the DNA testing, affirming his emotional bond with Richard by stating, "As far as I'm concerned, he's my dad and that's that," armed with undeniable evidence. Richard proceeded to file a lawsuit against his wife, Kate. In December, This case not only involved personal betrayal and a shocking medical disclosure but also sparked a complex legal battle that underscored the deep emotional ties and the pursuit of truth and justice within family relationships. In 2016, the legal proceedings commenced at the Birmingham County Court, drawing Richard and his family into a deeply personal and intricate legal ordeal. Richard had been misled by Kate, whose falsehoods about the paternity of their sons had profound implications. Despite the emotional upheaval, Richard's oldest son sent a poignant message to the man he recognized as his father, expressing his steadfast loyalty and love. He reassured Richard with heartfelt words, "Dad, as I explained from the beginning, you will never not be my dad to me. Regardless of all this, of course, I'll stay in touch. That will never change. I'm always here for you too, and you will always be Dad. Love you." As the legal battle unfolded, the twins had varied reactions. Even though they discovered that Richard was not their biological father, they continued to regard him as their dad, highlighting the strong emotional bonds forged over the years. This sentiment was further echoed when one of the twins sent Richard a supportive message during the trial. When Kate's deception was publicly disclosed in court, Richard won the case and was awarded over $300,000 in damages. Kate consented to the settlement under the condition that the identity of the real father of their sons remained confidential. While this was a legal victory for Richard, the win felt bittersweet. He was left grappling with concerns for his sons' welfare and their need for closure. Richard hopes that by sharing his story, the biological father might read this article and decide to come forward. He believes it is crucial for the boys to know their real father, not just to satisfy their immediate curiosity but for their long-term emotional well-being. Richard emphasizes the importance of this knowledge for their identity and closure, underscoring his enduring care for his sons amidst the challenging circumstances. "Hopefully, they will always think of me as their dad." This intricate family saga underscores the resilient power of parental bonds, transcending the boundaries of biological connections. It delves deeply into how both truth and deception can profoundly affect the dynamics within a family, highlighting the lasting influence these elements have on relationships and personal identities. After listening to this tale, what are your impressions? We'd love to hear from you in the comments section below. Your insights are valuable to us. Now, prepare for another engaging story as we proceed to the next one. The gratitude shown by Chuck's family underscored the significant impression Deandra had made through his diligent work and genuine care for his patrons. Deandra Booker, a dedicated African-American waiter in his mid-30s, had been a staple at a bustling restaurant located in the heart of the vibrant French Quarter of New Orleans, Louisiana. With over 3 years of service under his belt, Deandra had become a familiar face to many, providing exceptional service in an eatery known for its lively atmosphere and eclectic mix of customers. From local regulars to tourists exploring the historic area, the restaurant drew a varied crowd, all attended to by Deandra's attentive and cheerful demeanor. His commitment to his role was evident in the way he consistently went above and beyond his regular duties. Not only did he aim to provide top-notch service to ensure customer satisfaction, but he also often stayed late to clean up and secure the premises, highlighting his reliability and dedication to the establishment. On a day that began like any other, Deandra was cleaning up after serving his favorite young patron, 10-year-old Chuck, who had been coming to the restaurant with his family for more than 2 years. As Deandra approached the table to clear it, he noticed an unusual item: a brown parcel resting unopened next to an empty plate, stark against the white tablecloth. Accompanying the parcel was a folded piece of paper with Deandra's name boldly inscribed on the front. The restaurant was quieter than usual, with just a few patrons scattered around, which made the unclaimed parcel all the more intriguing. Deandra wondered if Chuck, with his youthful exuberance and occasional clumsiness, might have accidentally left it behind. Out of respect for privacy, Deandra decided not to open the parcel immediately. Instead, he set it aside, planning to return it should Chuck return for it. However, the mystery of the note was too compelling to ignore, and with a mix of curiosity and excitement, he unfolded the paper. The note revealed a message that took Deandra by surprise. It stated that the parcel was indeed intended for him. With a mix of emotions swirling within him, he cautiously opened the package, unprepared for how its contents would impact his life. Inside, Deandra found a check for an astonishing $70,000 and a heartfelt letter from Chuck's family. The letter conveyed deep gratitude for his years of kind and attentive service towards their son. Acknowledging his hard work and dedication, they expressed their desire to contribute towards his dreams in a significant and meaningful way. This unexpected act of generosity left Deandra in disbelief, as he realized the profound effect his everyday kindness had on the lives of others. This monumental event not only transformed Deandra's financial situation but also reaffirmed his belief in the power of service, compassion, and human connection. It altered the trajectory of his life, giving him the means and the motivation to pursue his long-held dream of opening his own restaurant, thereby turning his aspirations into achievable goals. Deandra harbored grand aspirations of providing a comfortable existence for his wife and daughter amidst the vibrant hustle and bustle of the city. He dedicated himself to long hours of labor at a local diner, a popular haunt for many influential figures, in the hopes of nurturing connections that might serve as stepping stones toward his lofty ambitions. Despite his relentless efforts, life did not proceed according to plan. With each day, the specter of eviction grew more threatening due to accumulating unpaid rent and bills, while the city's exorbitant cost of living made it increasingly difficult to afford his daughter's educational expenses. As time passed, Deandra found himself continually confronting new hurdles, and the allure of securing a higher-paying job grew stronger. However, each job application he sent was met with rejection, compelling him to remain at his current position, which, despite everything, provided a steady income. This succession of disappointments gradually diminished his enthusiasm for work, replacing it with a burgeoning sense of despair. Yet, a significant shift in Deandra's perspective began to unfold following an intriguing encounter with a young boy at the restaurant. One afternoon, while Deandra was busy serving tables, he spotted a boy dining alone and decided to engage him in conversation. The boy, named Chuck, was an 8-year-old fourth grader who appeared completely indifferent to the curious stares from other diners. Chuck had come to enjoy a simple meal of fries and chicken nuggets, opting for the most affordable items on the menu. Over time, Chuck became a familiar face, and his regular visits ignited a new sense of purpose in Deandra's daily routine. On days when Chuck could not afford a full meal, he would purchase just a soda and sit quietly. This consistent ritual brought a comforting sense of stability to Deandra, and he found himself eagerly anticipating the boy's visits. This unexpected friendship slowly rekindled Deandra's passion for his job and zest for life. Observing Chuck's resilience and simple happiness in the face of adversity inspired Deandra to persist despite his own challenges. What began as a simple act of curiosity evolved into a vital source of strength for Deandra as he navigated the complexities of city life. Interestingly, Chuck was around the same age as Deandra's daughter, Maggie, which led Deandra to ponder if his paternal instincts were influencing his bond with Chuck. Regardless of the underlying reasons, he was profoundly thankful for the joy and rejuvenation that Chuck brought into his life. From a young age, Chuck had developed a fondness for Deandra that was evident in his actions. At the tender age of 8, Chuck found himself drawn to Deandra's presence. So much so that whenever he visited the diner where Deandra worked, he would insist on being served by him over any other staff. Chuck's visits weren't always filled with conversation. Often, he was content just to be in Deandra's vicinity, a sentiment that Deandra found both flattering and heartwarming. As time marched on, their relationship deepened. Days melted into weeks, and weeks into months, during which their companionship blossomed into a profound connection. Chuck, brimming with youthful energy, would often rush in straight from school, eager to share the day's events or a new joke he had learned, always managing to coax a smile from Deandra. Their interactions varied. Sometimes they sat in comfortable silence, other times they engaged in casual activities. They shared anecdotes from their lives and discussed their families, yet always kept a respectful distance from more intimate personal details. This restraint allowed them to maintain the essence of familiar strangers, a dynamic that suited them both. However, nearly 2 years into this unique friendship, an unexpected shift occurred. One day, Chuck walked into the restaurant with his usual order of fries and chicken nuggets, but with a demeanor that was noticeably different. He insisted that Deandra serve him, despite claiming he had skipped school, a statement contradicted by the backpack he still carried. His face wore a somber expression as he quietly ate his meal. Deandra, concerned by the change in Chuck's usual cheerful demeanor, approached to ask if all was well. Chuck brushed off the concern, merely mentioning he had had a long day and needed to refuel. Though Deandra wanted to press further, he respected Chuck's privacy and continued his duties while keeping a watchful eye on the boy, who seemed more rushed and withdrawn than usual. After hastily finishing his meal, Chuck left the restaurant abruptly, leaving behind a mysterious package and a note. Initially, Deandra thought these items might have been forgotten in haste, but upon discovering the note was addressed to him, Deandra's intuition told him this was no ordinary oversight. Earlier that day, he had noticed Chuck's unusually somber mood, which now seemed suspiciously linked to the unexpected package. With a racing heart, Deandra quickly opened the parcel, only to be stunned by the contents. Stacks of crisp, new $100 bills, all neatly bundled. Resting atop the cash was another piece of paper, hands trembling with adrenaline and shock at discovering such a substantial sum of money. Deandra's eyes scanned the note, bracing himself for what it might reveal about the sudden and cryptic turn in their friendship. Down by the weight of the unresolved mystery surrounding Chuck and the unexplained wealth he had bestowed upon him earlier, Deandra had carefully picked up the note left for him. The message on it was enigmatic and challenging to interpret. "Live life. From your biggest fan," it read. The mixture of emotions this message stirred within him was intense and confusing, making it difficult for Deandra to discern the true intention of these words. He read the note over and over, each time sinking deeper into a state of bewilderment. Suddenly, it clicked. Chuck, a mere child, had intentionally left him a staggering amount of money. The questions of how and why a 10-year-old could amass such a fortune weighed heavily on his mind. In a bid to collect his thoughts, Deandra retreated to the privacy of the restaurant's changing room. Far from the prying eyes of patrons and co-workers, once alone, he took a moment to estimate the total amount Chuck had left him. Assuming each of the 7 stacks of bills was approximately $10,000, he was looking at an astonishing sum of $70,000. This revelation sent a wave of fear and shock through him as he tried to piece together the puzzle. Over the 2 years Chuck had frequented the restaurant, he had always opted for the least expensive menu items. Sometimes merely a bottle of water or soda when money was tight. Chuck appeared to live a modest life, attending a public school and wearing clothes that showed signs of wear. Deandra never intended to judge his young friend, but he was desperate for answers to this perplexing enigma. At that moment, Deandra recognized he was about to embark on a complex and potentially heart-wrenching journey, yet he was oblivious to the fact that the truth would leave him devastated. Driven by a determination to uncover the facts, Deandra left work early to search for Chuck. As he made inquiries, he realized how little he truly knew about his young friend. Despite their 2-year-long acquaintance, Deandra's search drove him to Chuck's school, where he spoke to students and teachers, hoping to find any clue about the boy's recent whereabouts. His investigation eventually led him to the school principal, who might be able to shed light on the mysterious circumstances. However, the visit to the hospital where Chuck had been transferred revealed a somber reality. The information he received there dashed his hopes for a joyful reunion. According to the hospital staff, Chuck had been admitted the day before, and details about his current status or his family's whereabouts remained a mystery even to the school principal. Feeling overwhelmed and defeated, Deandra returned home, his mind burdened with the heavy cloak of the unresolved questions about Chuck and the mysterious fortune he had left behind. Emotional impact of seeing Chuck in such a fragile state, filled with numerous thoughts and unanswered questions, Deandra was at a loss about how to possibly reconnect with Chuck. Even more pressing was figuring out what to do with the $70,000 tip Chuck had left him, which he now had in his possession. The young man mulled over various scenarios. Initially, Deandra considered turning the money over to the police, concerned it may have been derived from illicit activities. However, he quickly came to realize that such an action could be imprudent and perilous, potentially even backfiring on him. Next, he toyed with the idea of donating the money to charity, hoping it would aid those less fortunate regardless of its origins. Nonetheless, Deandra also acknowledged that this approach might be overly idealistic and not practical given his own financial predicaments. After spending the entire night deliberating and repeatedly revisiting the cryptic note Chuck had left in search of clarity, Deandra arrived at a resolution by daybreak. Since the money was a gift, he decided to use it prudently, adhering to Chuck's advice to live life fully. This crucial decision marked a significant turning point in Deandra's life. In the ensuing months, Deandra's circumstances underwent a dramatic transformation. Utilizing the money Chuck had given him, he resolved all his financial difficulties. He leased a 2-bedroom apartment, acquired a modest car, and made strategic investments in the stock market and several startups. Additionally, he allocated a portion of the funds to charity and his church, which helped ease his conscience. Life was looking up for Deandra, but not entirely. The mystery of Chuck's well-being and whereabouts continued to haunt him. Despite his improved situation, Deandra's concern for Chuck, whose sudden disappearance and enigmatic farewell note had left a deep imprint, remained unabated. Driven by a profound sense of gratitude and indebtedness to Chuck, Deandra made a decisive move. He employed a private investigator to locate Chuck as soon as possible. The search lasted a week and eventually yielded results. Tracing Chuck to a hospital in Minnesota, however, the news was disheartening. Chuck was undergoing treatment for a terminal illness. Without hesitating, Deandra booked the next flight to Minnesota, enduring the long, anxious journey while fervently praying for Chuck's recovery. Upon his arrival, the hospital's somber atmosphere braced him for the worst, but nothing could lessen his resolve to support his friend during this critical time. This journey was not merely about fulfilling a financial obligation but also about honoring a profound human connection that had unexpectedly altered the course of his life. Deandra was wholly unprepared for the emotional toll of seeing Chuck in such a state. Deandra was on the verge of an emotional roller coaster as he walked through the doors of the hospital. In that moment of uncertainty, he encountered Chuck's mother under strained conditions. Chuck, a young boy, was under strict medical orders not to receive visitors, adding to the already tense atmosphere. During this uncomfortable meeting, Deandra unearthed the truth he had been seeking for months. Chuck's mother disclosed the heartbreaking news that her son was fighting a terminal bone marrow disease, a grim diagnosis they had received shortly after Deandra had moved away from Louisiana. Feeling desperate and cornered by her son's critical condition, Chuck's mother had contacted his estranged father, a well-known business tycoon based in Minnesota, begging him to help find a suitable bone marrow donor. This urgent plea had led to their sudden relocation from New Orleans to Minnesota. As Deandra absorbed this narrative, his heart broke into pieces, yet it was the details of Chuck's bravery and his father's drastic decision that completely overwhelmed him emotionally. Facing a grim prognosis, Chuck had made an extraordinary request to his father. He needed some money, ostensibly to aid a friend in severe trouble. It turned out that Chuck had secretly taken a considerable amount of cash from his father's suitcase to support Deandra, a profound act reflecting their deep friendship. Chuck's mother, having only known of Deandra through her son's tales, now truly understood the depth of their bond. She brought uplifting news to Deandra. The hospital had successfully found a donor for Chuck's bone marrow transplant. The surgery went well, setting Chuck on a promising road to recovery. Deandra was filled with relief and hope as he watched his young friend's health improve. When Chuck saw Deandra post-surgery, his morale visibly soared, reigniting their friendship and significantly boosting his recovery. Several weeks later, Chuck was joyfully discharged from the hospital, now able to live his childhood like his peers. Throughout Chuck's recovery at home, Deandra remained a steadfast presence and soon became a cherished member of the family. He introduced his daughter to Chuck, and the two children quickly formed a close friendship, further enriching the lives of everyone around them. Deandra's life had changed remarkably for the better since he had first met Chuck while working as a waiter. The whole experience felt like a fairy tale and often left him in awe. Reflecting on their journey, Deandra realized that Chuck had introduced a beacon of hope into his life during a period fraught with personal challenges, and we owe him an immense debt of gratitude for his contributions. This remarkable tale prompts one to reflect. What would your response be if you found yourself in Deandra's situation? Have you ever experienced a pivotal moment that reshaped your life in a significant way? We invite you to share your stories in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.